I had a question about how you would debate or discuss an article. So I'm going to use the same article I used in my YouTube video. And I'm going to spin a wheel for yes, I agree with the prayer ban, or no, I disagree with the prayer ban. Because I kind of don't want to make my views known on YouTube. Okay, so it's landed at no, which is I disagree with the prayer ban. Now I'm going to read this article pretending as though I disagree with the judgment, basically. So here there are some arguments which I should agree with, like, it's discriminatory. Some I should clearly be disagreeing with, like it's a victory for all schools, and I'm going to see how I'm going to do that. Then I might argue as to why banning prayer will fix this. I would argue that, well, for example, in the month of Ramadan, because this deals with Muslim pupils, there might still be people being bullied for not fasting, if this is true. People will still presumably do things like wear hijabs or express their faith in other ways apart from prayer. So the prayer ban doesn't actually do anything to fix this. Now I'm going to move on and do this for every argument which disagrees with my stance. So for example, here it says that a school should be free to do what it feels is right. But that's not really true, because there are rules on schools. They can't be discriminatory in other means. So for example, a general state school can't refuse to admit Muslim students. So that's what I might say to that. And you keep doing that. I might do one more example. Okay, so the school argued that its prayer policy was justified after it faced death and bomb threats linked to religious observance on site. Once to this, I might argue that if there was a threat of violence, well, they should not have, banning prayer isn't a reasonable fix to that. So they could, I don't know, hire the police force, make sure that the school is protected, arrest people who are, sending out bomb threats and death threats. And you could argue that there are quite a lot of schools where prayer isn't banned that don't face death threats and bomb threats. So this argument is flawed. Okay. Now, one thing you might notice is most of the article is quite in favor of the prayer ban. There's not very much against it. So now that I want to do the other side, which is I like the prayer ban now, I'm going to go to this article. So let's move on to this now. This is kind of just scene setting. So let's pick this paragraph. So she argues that she was taught in a school where she was the only Muslim, and prayer has never been an issue, even in schools that are almost 100% Muslim. And she says that, well, in her experience, people get along very well, and differences are championed and celebrated. So now that we actually are in favor of the prayer ban, I might say, well, this was this person's experience, but it doesn't erase the fact that Michaela Community School experienced very different things, i.e. bullying, intimidation, harassment, and violence. So just because it was true here, it doesn't mean it's not true in Michaela. And in fact, Michaela doesn't argue that every single school needs a prayer ban, it just argues that they need one. Okay. And then here also I might argue that Michaela doesn't stop people from being Muslim or expressing their faith in other ways, and they haven't banned prayer specifically for just Muslims, they've banned it for everyone.